Well, hello everyone. We are at the Georgia Capitol, as you can see here in Atlanta. Here with Addy Ads.
George, good afternoon. We are braving the weather here, folks, in Atlantistan, capital of Georgia Capitol building right behind me. And I was speaking to a contact here earlier, and I had a supporter as well that was supposed to, as we mentioned yesterday, the election official hearing was supposed to be at 9:30. It actually got pushed back, so they pushed everything back to 1. And an election official was supposed to show up, and he never ended up showing up. My source didn't even get to appear and testify at the witness hearing. And another thing they did, they took the list, and there's this really, we call him like a big fish witness, right? And he was supposed to testify or appear, I think it was number 2. They moved him, and my source saw this, crossed out the name to move him to the bottom, and not everybody who showed up even got to say their fill at the witness hearing either. So,
Right. So Addy's discussing our contact name. We're going to call her Deep Georgia Peach. Deep Georgia Peach, right? So we're going to cover a lot of things. My Twitter being hacked is probably the thing that delayed our broadcast the most. Okay, we'll do a recap for you right now. Addy Ads and I are at the Georgia Capitol, as you can see right there.
it's a downpour here.
Huge downpour
in Atlanta.
But we're going to recap all the testimony that was given yesterday, and we are also going to talk about the election operations, the great meetings that we're having with whistleblowers, and I'm really kind of stunned right now that we just had this great meeting with this whistleblower. A lot of great information that we're going to impart to you in a few minutes.
But during the meeting, George's Twitter got hacked. It's still hacked. Somebody who is trolling, they kind of know what they're doing as far as, a hacker. Obviously, not an accident.
This is not
a coincidence.
Yeah, this isn't an amateur. You remember yesterday I was at NSA, Georgia. I was actually at Sweet Tea out in Augusta yesterday. So you tempt the NSA disruption gods, the COINTELPRO gods, you're going to get some COINTELPRO, which is counterintelligence program for people who don't know what that is. So Addy, let's go to your contact. You obviously brought us a great contact yesterday with Amber. We interviewed her last night. You can still see that. It's on Periscope. You can still see that interview last night. And now today you bring us another great contact, which is this Deep Georgia Peach. So why don't you take us through the 5 or 6 different things that she's aware of and working on, and we're going to be sort of setting up a war room here with local. You may remember we were out in Buckhead yesterday, the sort of the northwest area, close in northwest suburb of Atlanta, and we're putting Addy out there, changing Addy's schedule again.
Yeah,
and creating the war room out there in Buckhead. This is terrible, folks. I mean, this is really happening right in front of our eyes.
Yeah, and Georgia is Georgia on my mind. Georgia's the place to be right now here in Atlanta. I mentioned before the hub, the transportation hub that is Atlanta, busiest airport in the world by passenger traffic. But we got a lot of great new info from Deep Georgia Peach, and what we're doing with this info, and I was discussing this with George too, is we want to make it very digestible and presentable. So we're going to annotate a lot of stuff, add pictures and video. As I said before, I did an investigation with another local contact on kind of the other side of the city. And that was, again, tied into moving ballots using a private company to a publicly funded federal building to and from. So that was huge for us as well. And, Miss Deep Georgia Peach we got here as well is going to be proved to be an invaluable contact here in Atlanta. And just based off what she told me too, her phones are being tapped in some way or another. We talked about,
her security gate.
Her security gate number changing, and now it's an Israel number. So, people are really focused in. Atlanta's under the microscope right now because everybody's here. Pence just got here a few hours ago, I believe.
Yeah.
And that was actually from another contact we met yesterday at the barbecue, we had a great barbecue at Stone Mountain Park. People came out that weren't at the signing, and people that came that were at the signing as well. So that was great. We got to have George sign some more books for people, for fans and people who didn't know who George was or weren't familiar with his work. But this Twitter thing is really, I'm really feeling for George right now. It's really, I'm not going to swear, it's just quite unfortunate. This is it's a roadblock, and this is what they want. They want to demoralize the enemy. This is information warfare. They want to demoralize George. They want to demoralize our team by removing George's Twitter account. This is not an accident. It's because we're here in Atlanta. If we were up in Wisconsin or in Utah or something, this wouldn't have happened. So we're ready for it, and we're gonna make some awesome peach pie with deep Georgia peach.
Yeah.
And we're gonna serve it up to you guys. So
yeah, I like that. In a way, this is worse than the first YouTube destruction of the channel, because it was the 4,000 videos and 4 years of work. But I still had the Twitter with the 4 years of Twitter and the 70,000 followers on Twitter. So there was a way of getting the news out. But this one really hurts, because if you lose this one, now I have both knocked down. So all I can say is, folks, if you do have Twitter, let everybody know that my Twitter was hacked. I did not put on those things there about AOC. For a while, they were talking about that communism is great, capitalism is bad. Then we had a whole bunch of, it seemed like NSA, Georgia peach or sweet tea out there in Augusta type postings, the type of things that they would post. So just tweet it out. I had nothing to do with that. And what's really terrible is all the evidence about Serbia that was getting through to people, all the IP addresses that we had, all the screenshots of all the individual programmers I had, of the hackers, all the basically how this was done, the corporations with Dominion Energy and the ties with Buffett to Dominion Voting. This is the connection that I talk about in the book between Buffett and Seth Rich, and Dominion Energy and Dominion Voting.
And do you want to talk about it? You got a retweet, kind of a big retweet earlier today, right?
Yeah, the head of the Serbian government, the Republican Party in Serbia, retweeted me this morning. Several major journalists in Serbia have been retweeting me and my IP analysis, some of the IP network address analysis that I've done, some of the network address tests that I've done.
And I just want to mention this building. So the hearings yesterday were on the 4th floor, room 405 of the Capitol building here.
Right there.
And as we mentioned, it was, there was misdirection. They were late. They moved the hearing out to 1 for the election officials. They didn't let certain witnesses appear. They moved witnesses around on the priority sheet. My source didn't even get to appear and say her fill. So it's really, and I was talking to another source too, which George was in on that conversation. Really fiery, elderly gentleman, and he's got nothing to lose. He's ready to fight these people, to the end. And we got to see this. You got to see this through. And this is dark times. It's important times though right now. George was saying maybe the Lincoln re-election is up there in terms of most important presidential elections in our nation's history. And then this one, right? This one, it probably is going to take the cake when you look at the globalism aspect of this cabal. And these people here in Atlanta, they're so into their local politics. They know the Sheriff Jackson is corrupt. He's been in power for 10 years. He's losing power on the 5th. They were moving the ballots from the election county office to Sheriff Jackson's parking lot using a private company, Enterprise, as we mentioned. And again, I'm going to get that annotated and narrated as well. We'll get that video up. And he was just mentioning how angry he is. And he just said it's a cabal here in Georgia. That's what he said. And he's a Georgia native. Got the molasses accent of Georgia, which we all love. And he's just saying, it's a cabal here in Georgia. And these people are angry and they're fed up. And they're thinking ahead, too. He's like, we want to get back in 2022. We want to win this back. So we want to remove these people from office, top to bottom. try to clean it out and show this transparency. Talk to local people who've witnessed, crimes in their local area as well. So that's all we're trying to do here, people. We got boots on the ground. Is cleared up a bit now in terms of rain, but it was absolutely pouring. I'm wet. I'm pretty wet right now.
Yeah, we got soaked.
We're braving it. So
yeah. Well, and so I think Addy is going to have Addy's schedule's changed. We're going to keep him here. We're going to build the war room out here, just because these people have been cut off. We won't go into names of major outlets, but major outlets don't even want to cover the full extent of the releases that Addy and I are going to be dropping with Neighborhood News Hour, Neighborhood News Studio now. NN Hour is the website. Even Washington Bureau people who are the stations that Trump says are the ones to go to. And I'll just say One America Network and Newsmax are the two networks. The information and the releases are too hot for those networks. Even though it's all true, these are direct witnesses to the fraud going on here. It's everything. It's negative vote totals on a machine, on a voting machine. And negative vote totals on a voting machine should never happen. Fractional votes on a voting machine should never happen.
And these are the third stringers to bring up. I call them the third stringers. The Newsmax and with the other one that George mentioned. What was that? America First?
One America Network.
One America.
I would say they're more. They're Trump more. They lean way Trump, but yeah.
I just heard about Newsmax's owner. Do you know anything about the owner of Newsmax? Well, what they're doing is, like Fox has lost, their ratings plummeted. I think it was after Tucker. I think he bashed Sidney Powell.
Yeah.
And so they're realizing that the institutional ones are completely losing power. So they're gonna, they're holding on. It's like the vice-like death grip as you try to pry it off. The communication, scepter. And they're going to bring up these new networks that you may think are trustworthy. But, having a healthy degree of skepticism is always wise in these situations. Like George said, there's still stuff they won't touch, right? So how...
And these are legitimate stories. I mean, if someone says there's negative vote totals on a machine and actually is willing to testify to that, I want Newsmax to cover that. I want One American News to cover it. I want Fox to cover it. But if they don't, we're going to cover it anyway. And what I usually find is you need a fire starter type folks who go out there and stand in the cold weather and actually go get the stories and interview people as they come out of doorways to get the story. For then the other networks are shamed, unfortunately, sometimes shamed into covering the story. For those who are just tuning in, if you have a Twitter account, please tweet out that George Webb has been hacked. His Twitter account has been variously either hacked or destroyed or both. I don't know. I can't get back into my account right now. There's another 4 years of work. But it's until you're dead, you're not dead. I mean, that's the bottom line. You keep going. You just keep going. And I don't know any other thing to do other than just keep going.
Yeah, we're still breathing. And one thing I want to say to everyone is we want to thank people for supporting, but George is largely doing this on his own, Mr. Adler as well. So any support at all people can help with would be much appreciated. We don't have the CIA Mossad black card, so we can't put it all on the black card, unfortunately. And this stuff adds up. Food and lodging and everything. So that's something I want to plug is George's Patreon and my Patreon and the Neighborhood News Hour Patreon as well. We'll work on making ourselves more robust. So when these attacks do happen, then we are prepared. But it's a big blow. There's no doubt about it. That's 80,000 or 70,000 people that George had access to that they just took away. So I'm angry about it, and it's frustrating. But they do want us to to collapse internally, and I think it's important. I was having this internal conversation. It's really important to self-talk, to your positive self-talk, right? Because you're always talking to yourself all day, right? You're asking questions and answering them. That's what thinking is. mostly. It's just asking questions and answering them. And I was like, man, we got to still be positive. We got to behave. We got to have this outlook that we're going to win. We're still going to win, you know, but we got to put in the work. We got to be in the right spots at the right times. But it sucks, guys. It really sucks when we had a lot of money coming in the first channel that got axed right away. We saw none of that money. I hope people got refunds for that. Whoever, I know Miss Bevan did a lot of donations there. You know, George's Twitter, now that's a bunch of reach we just lost there too. And you heard about it too with, like, for example, Ryan Dawson. He can't go on Patreon anymore. So these people are so powerful. They have their hands in every aspect of society. You think, oh, Patreon, that enables independent creators like George and myself. They can get in that too. So it's really, you know, we're trying to make ourselves more robust. It's a work in progress. It's, you know, 2 steps forward, you know, 1 step back sometimes. Like today, we got a big W, but we also got a big L too. So we're just dealing with the blows as they come, dodging, jabbing like Canelo. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, and all these guys I'm not going to know. But there we are at the Georgia State Capitol. Addy Adds, George Webb reporting. The big news here is we have identified 2 very big, very active socially, and also big conduits to whistleblowers that did not get their story out. They went to this building yesterday. As Addy has defined here, they were shunted away. These are the most explosive witnesses. The stuff you saw yesterday, you ain't seen nothing yet. The good stuff was all cut. It was delayed, then it was pushed to the bottom, and then it never happened. Addy has access, and I just met with the person with Addy and Aaron Adler, and then Wes also, neighborhood news team. So we have 4 witnesses to this. We went through the whole thing, and this person these are very prominent people in Atlanta as well. These are not...
they have the ear of the local politicians in many ways, local movers and shakers, and that's why we're here. You know, George Webb is the connector. He's the web in the middle, right? We got it connecting the web. So we're trying to connect everyone together, all the good guys, and, you know, we vet people. We meet them in public, right? And we find out, you know, they're great people a lot of times because George is a great person, and that's the type of people he attracts is a lot of God-fearing people, a lot of people who really have, I think the biggest connection is respect for our Constitution and our liberties that are just have been taken away in this police state that we're currently in.
And I would really like to see Georgia Peach, Deep Georgia Peach, who's just a very impressive person. That's all I'll say at this point. And her father is incredibly impressive. These are very successful people in Buckhead, where we had the dinner yesterday, or the lunch yesterday at OK Cafe. So please support OK Cafe. That'll probably be our informal sort of headquarters. Addy's got, poor Addy.
We're keeping my headquarters
near there,
undisclosed.
But it'll be at a hotel near there until we get a permanent location. We're looking at a permanent location, and we're just going to be bringing in dignitary after dignitary here in the Georgia government. The people we're talking about are extremely well connected.
Yeah,
so,
and Buckhead is one of the wealthiest counties in our nation. It was also the target of the riots here, and the rioting, the looting. It wasn't Midtown, as they call it. I think it was the wealthy people's neighborhood. It was Buckhead. It was the Republicans area, their stomping ground. So, and you heard this too from our sources, our local sources. You have people not even from Atlanta or even the state of Georgia coming in and looting and stealing and carjacking and just leaving and going back to wherever they came from. And we have witnesses for that too. So
right.
Yeah, all this is been happening here in Atlanta.
And for those who weren't with the Right Side Network, right over here, we just had a rally here at this Georgia Capitol with the Mr. Pillow guy, the Mr. Pillow guy. We try to keep a low profile away from any kind of commercial sponsorships and so forth, and we don't want to embed commercial sponsorships because we do feel like it adds a little bit of now I have to go talk about that, now I have to recommend that. And so other channels have
It's an internal debate we're having, guys,
Right.
because George wants to stay authentic and genuine, and George is genuine and authentic. But at the same time, we are doing this full time. I've been doing this full time for several months now. I'm very fortunate and grateful for this opportunity. But you got to pay utilities. You got to eat something, yeah, right? And you got to get some lodging. You need food and shelter, and there are bills to be paid that by virtue of being a human in our society as it stands today. It's the way society is set up. We have to pay bills. So it's an internal debate we're having. George wants to stay George Webb, and then that's it. And George Webb neighborhood news and Addy ads and keep it clean. But we're thinking about it. But it just shows you that we do need your support. So
we do. I normally don't ask much, but this is a new. I've been doing my hotel bills and trying to help with Addy and the flights and the bus trips and the hotel rooms, and now we're going to that next level where we're like building out a war room like we did in Michigan, but we don't have the benefit of Aaron, who gave us a 1,500 square foot room, and he bought all the TVs.
We don't have super Jews in every city yet.
He calls himself Super Jew, not us. So we're not.
We love Aaron Adler.
We love him to death. Amber, I saw Aaron tweet out. Amber's caught in traffic. She can't get here. She may be here in a little bit. But the key is these stories. These people need to tell their stories. You saw Donald Trump. Once Donald Trump sees the stories, and he made the speech with the two flags and did a very excellent summary of, hey, this is a crime. You're watching a crime in progress. It's like you're the security guard, and you're standing here with us with this camera, and you're looking over there, and they're wheeling in votes. It's 3:45, and they're wheeling in the votes. You can almost see it happening right here. They're wheeling in the votes in the back. There's the big box down there, and they're wheeling the votes in, right? That's what happened. They're not real people. They're not real votes. The signatures don't match. There's some that have been run through 7 times, 8 times through the scanner. This was Dominion. One of the great pieces of information we got. This is the first all Dominion election, and the reason why this is also important is Dominion had hybrid systems before. This is all Dominion in every county. PayPal. Yeah. Do you have a PayPal?
I do. I have a PayPal. Yeah.
Yeah. So they can do Addy ads.
Yep. Yeah. You can. It should be on.
That would
my
really
channel.
help, folks, because it's Addy's expenses that I can't do both, and so it would really be helpful.
He's been my sponsor as well, along with Aaron. So
yeah.
You guys.
So let me talk about EAC and then Addy ads on PayPal. Okay.
Yep.
So EAC is this came out today with this deep Georgia Peaches father, who said that $852 million has been given out by this Election Assistance Commission, EAC, first time it's ever been in existence, to help people buy voting machines because of COVID, right? Okay, all right. Well, Georgia got a huge chunk of that money, and we saw
a lot of money.
The Secretary of State, and right in that building, Raffensperger. Hey, Brad, how you doing, buddy? Right, that guy got 30 different companies. We saw Amber showed us 30 different companies he had.
It was upwards of $1 billion with a B.
Yeah. So there is money being thrown all over. It doesn't matter if it's Democrat. It doesn't matter if it's Republican. It's rank corruption that's happening right here, right behind us. This EAC, we have whistleblowers inside this EAC group, and we have money going to people who work directly for Raffensperger, who are getting this Mr. Sterling, who seem to be the direct beneficiaries. Lynn Wood has talked about this in his lawsuit. Direct beneficiaries of this money. Now, the person who works up there, who's supposed to be installing the systems, shouldn't be also the person who's taking the money in the back pocket and then putting in the systems. That's a conflict of interest, right? So EAC is a big story. You're going to be bringing us that one as well.
Yep, yeah, and just a lot of great info coming in here, guys. And this is really the basis of public intelligence is citizens. It's citizens who come forward and say, "Hey, George, I got something hot here. There's a ballots being moved to the sheriff's parking lot There's child trafficking going on at the busiest airport in the world, Hartsfield-Jackson. There's EAC, which let me just little explanation. It's like a special election committee, as I understand, George.
Yeah, election assistance for federal level, $892 billion, I believe. They're doling it out state by state. But you can see if you do Dominion, if you choose Dominion voting systems, right? Dominion Energy, Warren Buffett. We'll get back to how Seth Rich might have been involved with Dominion Energy with all these gas transmission pipelines. Remember Warren Buffett doing the oil trains. Are the same people who are doing Dominion Energy involved in Dominion voting.
And this has to be a red line for us. We can't allow this to go on. We can't allow Dominion ever again.
Yeah, I mean it's proven. Expert after expert after expert. Swiss cheese, Swiss cheese, Swiss cheese. This thing has got 12 different. Wes being a elevator repair guy, you know, with hardware and so forth. He went through the manual, the whole Dominion manual, and it's just a comedy of how many different ways you can get into the system. And there's all these warnings. Don't do this because you can easily hack it this way, and don't do that because you can easily hack it this way. Well, that's kind of an instruction manual for hackers, right? So every which way you look at this Dominion thing, it's not good. If you're just joining us, I'm here with Addy Ads. My name's George Webb. Here we are at the Georgia Capitol. Please, my Twitter's been hacked. George Webb's Twitter's been hacked. 4 years of effort, just like the YouTube hacked. Really, if you look at it, it's worse than the YouTube hack because I had a reach of different people, you know.
And I've seen some journalists do this where they kind of thank Twitter for not banning him. It's if you kowtow to these people or be polite, they don't care. They're gonna remove who they want to remove, and if they don't, it's because you're not over the target or you're not covering something that scares them, that puts fear in them. Right. And in Atlanta, this is where we're getting flack. We got Aaron Adler, the tail gunner, going crazy. You know, he's the Energizer Bunny. Got George flying the plane.
Yeah. I'm
running back and forth. I'm trying to do both, and they're removing our Twitter and they're removing our YouTube channel. So
what I was going to ask people to do is just tweet out, if you have a Twitter account or Facebook, that George Webb didn't put out capitalism is bad and communism is good. He didn't put out.
I'll pull up the picture. Keep going, George.
Yeah, AOC. I like AOC. I didn't hack. I didn't destroy my account, etc. I've tried. I can't get back into my account. So my number one goal today is to get people to tweet out that I had nothing to do with this. I was meeting with a whistleblower at the time. Yesterday, you saw me out at Sweet Tea in Georgia. I told the folks that I was at breakfast this morning, or at late lunch, that I worked right over here, Georgia Tech, right over here. The person, Sweet Georgia Peach, was, there it is, yeah.
Capitalism sucks. AOC for presidency. Communism is good. Good spelled with 2 zeros. So, and they deleted a bunch of his tweets.
Now they're all gone, right?
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. That's a picture. Yeah. And I can show you the other one here in a second. But total hack, very professional. They're trying to make it look like it was a troll and an accident. It wasn't an accident.
Yeah, Dmitry Alperovich went to school. The guy I said right from the beginning with the BlackBerries that ported PGP, gun your engine if you're Dmitry Alperovich and you've hacked this election. Okay, there it is. Dmitry Alperovich, remember I said from the beginning, the same type of technology that's used in encrypted phone networks is the same type of technology that's used in encrypted voting systems. Isn't it interesting that Dmitry Alperovich went to school over there as a Russian hacker, right over there, just steps away over at Georgia Tech. This is where he got his training wheels before he started hacking different elections and so forth.
There it is when you try to type it in. And there it is, folks. It's a hack job, professional.
Yeah, why would you hack somebody who is off the target? It doesn't make any sense, right? When they're meeting with key critical people, that's when you would do that sort of hack. So we're probably we're going to need to go to the courthouse now, unless you have something else to cover.
We are, lead the way, sir.
Just wanted to get that information out. I am suing CNN. I have a lot of enemies in this town, so maybe our friends at CNN. I have obviously I went out to NSA yesterday. Maybe I shouldn't have kicked the bear out there. Remember, we have all the hacking and unmasking of all the Trump people in 2016, 70 different subcontractors, quote unquote. We have a woman named Reality Winner that's unmasking all these things. And what happens? Wrist slap in her case is buried, slap and seal. What happened to those 70 contractors? We know that the Collier report came out and said that there was the 70 contractors that did the hacking. Zero. Nothing happened to them. It's going to be the same people that hacked the 2016 election, that hacked this 2020 election. As a matter of fact, there was a dump of Crossfire Hurricane. I'm calling this Crossfire Serbia. These operations, these election operations in 2020, I'm calling Crossfire Serbia because that's where the hackers were. But in 2016, it was called Crossfire Hurricane. Of all those things that were let out yesterday, the number one name mentioned, the name that Jonathan Weiner with the Blackberries, Jonathan Weiner of APCO, same person that did all the uranium consulting, same person that did all those energy deals for Biden and Mr. Deep Biden, calling him Deep Biden now, so remind people he's a Biden guy for 40 years, right? That's who is the most mentioned person. Again, another verification, another validation of the reporting I've done. The number one name mentioned in the Crossfire Hurricane dump. Notice they put the Crossfire Hurricane dump out at the same time that our attention has been diverted over here at Crossfire Serbia. That's when they put out the Crossfire Hurricane documents. Notice that the number one name mentioned is Jonathan Weiner, the person that we said was the one who did Libya. He was a special envoy to Libya. We said he did Syria, special envoy to Syria. Guess who was the ambassador who was doing the reconstruction funds? Ambassador William Taylor. Libya, Syria, Sudan, Yemen, the Iran nuclear deal, and then now the election operations. It's the same group. It's the same group. And this Dominion thing, if we don't stop it here, it's like slavery starting again in America or something. It really is.
We got to make slavery history again, folks.
Yeah,
Obama made slavery great again in Libya. You can buy a 20-year-old dude for $200 now, because there's no order now, and then it's something you don't realize. There's the macro effects of, oh, that's why the migrants are all going to Italy. That's why they're all going to Germany. They want all this chaos to happen, and you don't see often. Sometimes the second order effects, the third order effects, and that's why George is here to try to explain that to people. And I want to say too that when we're out in the field, and especially myself, George is well established in many ways that I'm not. There's 2, 3, 4 people behind me who are sponsoring me, who are giving me a ride. We got Wes, Master McCullough, drove us here today. We had the Marine family that supported me the other night. We got our Deep Georgia Peach, and every time I'm on the ground, boots on the ground, there's 2 to 4 people that are making that possible. So people need to, I think, understand that, and I want to extend public thanks to everybody for that as well, because this is a team effort, Yeah. And you can't do it alone. Individuals do not survive during wartime. You got to be team guys, team girls. So
I like it. Well, there you have it, everyone. Addy Ads, George Webb. We're here at the Georgia Capitol. We're covering the shutdown of whistleblowers yesterday. Addy Ads is the guy who can bring you what you didn't see yesterday in the testimony. It's going to be a lot better. It's going to be a lot more clearly presented with all the visual aids rather than the poor setup that they had yesterday. Kind of forced people into giving very short answers, and really was election officials covering themselves. Rather than it was a CYA session yesterday.
It was damage control.
It was damage control.
And those are not my words. Those are one of our sources' words. Who they would know. These locals, they really know. They're up on their Atlanta politics. It's really important
they're
here
insiders.
in Georgia.
They're insiders. So we're going to have the war room for you, and that's coming. And
I want to plug the Patreon because people kept asking.
Sure.
Mine is Addy Ads, ADDY, and if you go to my channel, Addy Ads, ADDY, you can see all the links there. NNHOUR.com is our team website. It's where you find George's links, George Webb's links, because we do have to host our own website. Will they go after our website hoster? Probably at some point.
Yeah.
And once we get bigger, once we start getting more traction, but we're trying to make ourselves more robust more decentralized, and therefore more stable and more structural in the long term. So Patreon as well. George has a Patreon. If you want to support George that way,
George Webb, all GeorgeWebb. So
Addy ads on Patreon. If you type in Addikin, it should show up as well. ADAKIN. Otherwise, just Addy ads. ADDYADDS. And that's for PayPal as well. GoFundMe too. Some of my UK supporters. We love our Brits. They are going through PayPal. So Addy ads. ADDYADDS. And after this uploads and processes, when we go off, I'll go in and I'll add all the links too. So maybe 10 minutes or so after we're done streaming, those links should all be in the description box below as well. Yeah, GoFundMe too. It's any way you can, guys, and you can send checks to Mr. Adler's studio. That's kind of our redoubt up north. It's our redoubt up north. So
notice how they moved the action when we went to Michigan. Now they moved the action down here to Georgia. As soon as we moved to Georgia, the devil came down to Georgia after we did, and whacked our Twitter. So anyway, I want to end it all here saying we're going to court now. We're going to go over to the courtroom, and we'll see you in a little bit.
See you soon.
Okay. Stay frosty.
Stay frosty.
Yeah, you got it. I was like, I can't stop the show now.